As the day's play ended, Bob found himself in the too-warm comfort of his bed. A day of merriment with his peculiar friend had left him exhausted, their laughter echoing in the rain-soaked streets. But the room was stifling, a wave of heat enveloping him, prompting him to open the window, inviting a cool breeze into his sanctuary. However, the air that wafted in was anything but refreshing. A potent smell invaded his senses, reminiscent of rotten fish, a scent so strong it was almost tangible. His eyes darted to the window, landing on a dark circular shadow. It was an enigma, a blob of obsidian ink, its movements eerily similar to those of venom, pulsating and shifting. The sound it made was unsettling, a fierce echolocation that sent chills down his spine. His heart pounded in his chest as he watched the shadow, its form growing larger and more menacing. And then in a blink, it happened. Suddenly, the shadow lunged, enveloping Bob in a pitch-black sack. Bob, blind and terrified, could barely breathe through the musty, damp odor of the sack. An unseen force, like an invisible hand, began to tug at him. It was as if he was being pulled by a magnet, a sensation that defied the laws of gravity. Overcome with fear and confusion, he realized he was no longer in his room. The air felt different. The sounds were alien. Just as abruptly as the pulling had begun, it stopped. Bob was now seated, tied to something that felt like a chair, but it was no ordinary chair. It bobbed and floated in midair, its fiery red hue visible even through the coarse fabric of the sack. The ropes that bound him were thick and itchy, chafing his skin with every move he made. He was trapped, confined in a space he could not see or comprehend. In the midst of his panic, a glimmer of hope sparked in his mind. The Swiss Army knife. He had absent-mindedly picked it up from his side table before bed. His heart pounded as he fumbled in his pocket, relief washing over him as his fingers closed around the familiar shape. Without a second thought, he began to saw through the heavy ropes. The chair hummed beneath him, a strange symphony of alien technology. His heart raced, adrenaline pumping through his veins. With a swift motion, Bob cut the ropes, removed the sack, and made a dash for the control center. In the heart of the alien ship, Bob found himself in front of the control panel. With the adrenaline coursing through his veins, he had a moment of clarity. His gaze fell on the singular button, as red as the ropes that had bound him. A beacon in the alien gloom. He recognized it as his only way out. With a deep breath, he pushed the button. Suddenly, a disembodied voice echoed through the cavernous ship. It was a countdown. 5! His heart pounded in his chest. 4! His palms were slick with sweat. 3! His mind raced through 1,000 possibilities. 2! He braced himself for the unknown. 1! Then, in a burst of energy, the chair shot upwards, ejecting him into the air. The ship shuddered, and then, in a spectacular explosion, blew up into 1,000 pieces, lighting up the night sky like a second sun. The shockwave propelled him further into the air, and for a moment, he was weightless, suspended between the earth and the stars. As the deafening blast faded into a gentle hum, the chair spat out a parachute, its white fabric billowing out against the dark sky. Bob clung onto the ropes, his heart still pounding from the explosion. He was descending towards Earth, the wind whistling in his ears and the ground rushing up to meet him. As he descended, he took in the sight of his home below him. The lights were still on, casting a warm glow into the night. His heart ached for the mundane comfort of his too-warm bed, the familiarity of his room. The parachute gently guided him down, and with a soft thud, he landed on his roof. He clambered off, his legs shaky from the adrenaline. He looked around, expecting to see the remnants of the UFO, the proof of his unbelievable adventure, but there was nothing. As the parachute gently brought him down, Bob landed on his roof, the remnants of the UFO nowhere in sight. He was alone, the eerie silence of the night wrapping around him like a blanket. The brave escape was over, but the mystery had just begun. Bob ran inside, eager to share his unbelievable adventure. He blurted out the tale of the alien abduction, of the red hovering chair, of his daring escape. Yet his parents exchanged skeptical glances, their disbelief palpable. Confused, Bob led them outside, expecting to see remnants of the UFO or the ejector seat atop his house. But there was nothing there. No evidence of his wild journey. Bob was left wondering, was it all just a dream, or was it real?